high school stuff. From there, I got into talking to my accountant, saying, hey, what's a good way to kind of defer taxes because of the income that was coming. And it was real estate. So I bought my first piece at 19, and I've been selling since. I bought the franchise about 9 years ago or so. I took on 2 business partners because I didn't have the money to do it or care to swing a hammer, but just didn't have the knowledge to do it. So from there, just put yourself around the right team and have a good mentor. And I said that's the thing that took me to where I am.
So when I started my franchise up, when I was in real estate here for a couple years before I actually bought my first franchise, did actively do real estate and residential, primarily residential, and I also worked commercial with my other sales job. Back in the day, I don't know if anybody here is from St. Louis or some folks are, this is back when Caldwell Banker and Gundaker were separate entities. And Gordon Gundaker owned, and I worked for Gordon Gundaker as an agent with them for several years. My parents worked for them as well. I got my license back initially, it was 98. And my parents got theirs about 98, 90, 97 range, right around there as well. So we all kind of got a license about the same time. Always bought properties, did some fixing up, had some rentals, things of that nature, flipped a few properties, things of that nature. And still I got a little more into the real estate side. I did it here for a few years as an agent, working for a local brokerage with Gundaker. That was merged together then with a company called Caldwell Banker here in St. Louis. When that merge took place, there was a lot of turmoil thing going on in the industry. So we decided, I was talking to my parents a little bit, and I said, you know what, I think it might be time we go on our own, to our own type of franchise. And they said, yeah, that's probably not a bad idea. Given my background and my experience with the college education, I was able to pretty much open that operation up. My parents didn't have any interest in running that part of the business. They said, no, we'll just kind of be the agents sort of stuff. So I initially started looking at, do I want to go franchise or non-franchise? Do I want to go individual, or what's the benefits or pros and cons of either way? I quickly decided that a franchise was probably the way to go for me. I just didn't think I could get much legwork and much pull with Koch Realty or who really knows Greg Koch kind of thing. And I felt I could generate more business and more agents and get a large volume with a franchise brand name. So when I was out looking at it, I looked at several franchises. I looked at Prudential's, Keller Williams, Remax's, and actually had an interview with several of them. I contacted them, put applications in, sat down, went with their sales force, had conversations about the franchise. So it's going through an interview process, quite frankly. So whether you go in your independent business, if you're going to franchise, you are going to be going through interviews. Sat down with corporate owners, both Prudential and Remax. I quickly narrowed it down to those 2 franchises. Prudential was actually going to pay me $40,000 just to open up my franchise and give me money. Remax had actually cost me $25,000 to buy my first franchise, and then everything else was on my own. But I decided the flexibility and what I can do with the Remax model and the model that it worked for worked better with my ideas and my thoughts. So I went ahead and pursued the Remax franchise, and obviously bought that particular franchise and opened my first office. It's been going pretty well since then. So, the key to things I think you would definitely want to do is when you're looking to go in your own business, you've got to have some sort of financial plan together. What is your projected expenses, not just 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, maybe even 4 or 5. When I first put my operation together, I had the expectations, and I thought, man, if I can only get to about 25 or 30 agents, I'd be killing it. I'd be knocking them dead. Or 20 agents or so. If I could do $20 million a year, I'd be knocking them dead. Lo and behold, obviously the benefit of the franchise, and just with the growth that we saw, we're 10 times that much, 200 million with about 90 agents or so. Our highest peak point was 2006, of course, when the market was great. We were sitting at about 130 agents. We did about 250 million. So we have scaled back a little bit on the agent count. We're still doing the volume that we're doing today of 200 a year. So we had to make some different, certainly changes and adjustments based upon the market. One thing I do pride myself, obviously with the franchise brand name, it gave me a lot of insight that I was looking for to make the adjustments I needed to do with my own company. So I took the advice of that, and I made a tremendous amount of changes to my own organization. So we have Chris Racer also works for us as one of our agents as well. He was with an independent before that. So there's really is a lot of benefits to a franchise. Franchise opportunity I thought was very beneficial for me, and it worked well. So I'm sticking with that, and we're doing quite well with that from that standpoint. So market's going to get better though. Real estate, yay! So go ahead, how did you get started?
Well, my roommate junior year, we were both entrepreneurship majors. He was doing construction for other companies, and we figured we both wanted to do our own thing. Perfect fit, similar backgrounds, and neither of us wanted to work for anybody else or wanted to be on our own. So what originally we're going to do is I was going to work with the company he was working with and then get a little bit of training with them, and then we can go out on our own. But then we realized that it wasn't that company was starting to go under, so they really weren't a good fit. And so we really just started on our own. And what we did is we did not have to invest a lot of upfront capital. We first started on roofing and siding and gutters, a lot of storm restoration work. But what you realize is there are already crews that are out there who have all the materials you need. You just need to get them to the job site. So really our initial upfront capital is about $1,000 for just like gas, lettering up a truck, getting our incorporation, getting our insurance. And then we got credit lines with some supply companies, and we found the crews. So really we did not have to give all that much upfront to get to where we were. And it really was just the desire of, we found the niche with the storm restoration and with construction, is because there's such a, when people hear roofer or roofing contractor, they already have a stigma of it, of like what they're going to look like. But we came in college educated, younger, really clean compared to a lot of our competition. And we really started blowing away the competition. We got all the time when we were knocking on the doors saying, hey, we're here, like, oh, you were not what I expected. And then we'd come in with the laptops and printers in the truck, everything printed on site. We kind of changed the way that a lot of people were used to doing it. And so we really did not need a lot of capital. We changed the industry to what we thought more people would want. And it's just a matter of learning on the go. Since I wasn't as familiar with all the trades, I was with my crews all the time, asking questions, learning from them. At the same time, I was giving them the paycheck. So it's kind of interesting the way it worked out from that. But yeah, it's just, we took it from a small operation, and now we're growing leaps and bounds all the time. Like this year, I think we've, at the peak time after the big storms hit in the spring, we had 40 roofers working for us, 6 siders, 2 gutter trucks going, and then some interior carpenters. So, and all those, again, most people came with their own equipment, so we didn't have to shell out all that money to make sure that they could work. And so that's really kind of how we got started.
It started because I was just tired of corporate. I remember the day I decided to start my own company. I was the division director, and I had all these employees, and I called my boss and said, my son's in a play today in kindergarten. He's one of the 3 little pigs, and I want to go to this event. And the guy said, you're not taking off at 10 o'clock on a work day. I said, but I really need to be there to see him be his little pig. He said, no, if you leave right now, don't come back. I said, okay. And I left. And my husband goes, oh my God, what are you doing? Said, we talked about it a lot. And I said, you know, the thing that I've known, I've got a process that I've done for corporate America. It's called PLANE, Closed Loop Integrated Management. I said, I'm just going to apply it to smaller and mid-sized businesses and go in it. And unlike a lot of consultants who tell you what to do, and they'll give you a 75-page proposal on this is what you should do to make your company successful, I actually went in and rolled up my sleeves. Because what I find with a lot of entrepreneurs is they're so passionate about what they're doing that they don't have time to do a lot of the background work. I kind of liken myself to the wizard behind the screen. Don't notice the person there. And I'm doing all this stuff in the background, and they're just becoming more and more successful. In the little over 13 years I've been in business, I've worked with 5 startup companies. Out of those 5, 3 were very, very successful. 1 is moderately successful, and 1 completely failed in my first year. And I knew it was going to happen because she was working out of her home to begin with. We did all her branding, came up with great products. We were doing trade shows, and she was selling like crazy. The minute she got money in her account, she had to go get a corporate office and brick and mortar and all this stuff she wanted to do and buy a new car. And she just went upside down so fast within her first year spending money that she was making. She wasn't plowing it back into her business to continue to grow and build the model. I kept saying to her, you gotta watch your costs, you gotta watch your costs, you gotta watch your costs, and she went under in the first year. 2 of the other ones, the one that's moderately successful, he inherited the business when his dad died unexpectedly of a heart attack. The business had been around for over 100 years. and just bleeding money all over the place. We went in and actually realigned the way he did business, and part of the claim process is to use technology to do better marketing and higher probability marketing. So we did very specific targeted marketing. We changed up some of his products. We did some branding, did the photography and catalogs for him, and that business, I'm happy to say, in the very first year I worked with him, grew 28%. Second year got better, third year got even better. The fourth year, however, a couple of his competitors went out of business. He bought them in, and they changed the way he did business back to old school, and unfortunately, they're really struggling again this year. So, you know, the thing about business is you make decisions based on the information you have at the time and the people that are around you and influencing you. I think probably one of the most important things to have, and I wish I had one but didn't, was a mentor. I think if I would have been able to sit down and say, how do I do this? You know, you remember, like, okay, I'm at the max on my hours and I don't know what to do. Should I bring another person on? Should I do this? To be able to talk to somebody who's actually lived through some of those experiences and have them kind of guide you and tell you what worked and what didn't, I think is a really valuable thing. So I had joined since then, since I started my company, I've joined several professional groups for entrepreneurs, and that kind of information sharing is very, very valuable. The other companies, you know, they've listened to what I've done, they've taken the process, and now they do it themselves. I don't have to do it for them anymore. They've all grown past that and have a full-time person doing what I used to do it for. I like the freedom. I like being able to work out of my house. I live on a golf course, so, you know, it's a nice view, got a lot of trees, got a big 2-room office with a conference room. I do workshops and training, helping businesses. So, I mean, it's been, my husband will tell you all the time, it's been the best decision we've made for the family. Everybody goes into business for different reasons, and I think the most important thing is first to look at your motivation, and then second, to make sure you have a plan to assure that you get those goals that you're looking for. It's tricky.
So I think now we want to kind of open up some questions, make it a little bit more interactive to find out what you guys are looking for, what you guys are looking from us. So first question, start asking some questions.
How many of you already own your own business? Any of you?
What do you do?
I own a nonprofit clothing line that creates scholarships for students with unique talents, but we base the scholarship fund partly on the revenue side.
Okay. What kind of questions do you guys have? About starting a business, about looking at franchise, non-franchise, doing consultant work? I certainly have some questions.
Any of you looking to be entrepreneurs? Do any of you want to be entrepreneurs?
What kind of business do you guys want to for yourself?
During summer, I kind of start my business like that. I sell and buy and sell secondhand furniture for Chinese and international students. They're coming back, so I bought the furniture back, and some new freshmen come over, and I sell them to those freshmen. So kind of like pretty stressed because there's heavy furnitures going all around, no trucks. So one asking is, what do you think of like the most difficult thing to open a brand new business?
Getting your name out there, because you have to differentiate yourself, and especially if you're looking to start a company young, history is what a lot of people are going to look for. Is, are you reliable? Have you been around for a while? Do they know how to trust you? Especially with being young, like when we started, that was one of the hardest things. So one of the things I've always suggested to people is if you are really interested in starting your own company, figure out a name that you want to make it, and go ahead and get a phone number now. Get a little bit of work history going with it, because now it's not as much because phone books are going less and less, or being less and less used. But when we're first starting, the first thing they do is to look up our company in the phone book to make sure that we're a legitimate company, not a fly-by-night. And if it was in the phone book, we had history. Now with the internet marketing, it's a little different. There's a lot of stuff you can do online, web presence. But really the biggest thing for us when we first started was establishing company credibility and making sure that they knew that our company was legitimate, and also just getting a name out so they knew to use us. So really some of this stuff is just depends on your marketing, but if you know you want to do something, start it now. That way you have tenure, whether you're doing it actively or not. If you say your company's been around for longer, it does help you in the eyes of the people, because the product you're going to offer them is going to be the same, whether you started that before or not, because you're the one offering it. But if you can say that you've been doing this before, it really helps you out long term.
And just because you build it doesn't mean they'll come. I've got the best solution in the world, but if nobody knows you have it, what good is it?
You have to, definitely have your business plan together. Put a business plan together. Have your meets, needs, values, vision. Have that all in place. So just spell it out and be precise about that. Also figure out your financial situation, where you're going to be at. What's the investment? Not just 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. What's the long-term investment? When do you have to put a rate of return? The biggest thing I can see is, a big portion of the companies fail in the first year. The majority of them do. A lot of them do. But you're still not going to be profitable. In most cases, you're not going to be profitable for maybe even 2 or 3 years. So you have to be able to be prepared for that, or have the financial backing to do some of that stuff. It just depends on what kind of scale you're going to do. What's your role and capital investment into the operation? So it's about preparation. Have those values and have those visions lined out in front. Up front, when I was looking at my operation, I was thinking, if I get to this level, well, heck, we achieved that level in the first year. So we immediately start expanding, putting money back into it. Obviously things changed in 2006 with our market, so we've had to change our model. We've changed our needs and our missions and our values a little bit, and modify that, but you're going to constantly adjust that. But, I see so many people just go into things undercapitalized.
And not with any sense of reality on numbers. Just
Right.
amazes me. I
Capital.
have a guy I read his whole business plan, and I looked at him and I said, how much do you expect to make in this business? He goes, oh, well, I probably won't get a dime for 5 years. I said, and how's that going to affect your family and what's going on? You have no salary built in, you got nothing? Well, but if I make money, I'll make money.
Chris Raisel over here is a gentleman, is a good example. I mean, he works for me as an agent, but also has a vision of a product he's working on for a gummy bear, for glucose gummies, for folks with type 1 diabetes. Type 1 diabetes. So he's got, in addition to real estate, he's also starting up that process. And Chris, by chance, does capital investment required in order to get that to go?
Oh, like $5,000 for R&D for an R&D.
Just R&D, $5
Real estate,
grand.
it's not easy to pull $5,000.
So it does take a tremendous amount of scheduling and as far as vision, and know exactly what your capital investment is going to be. But it does take a lot of effort in your total business plan package is really the key. And I would recommend sitting down with somebody when you create that business plan to go through it and then kind of step through it and make sure you have that vision, exactly what you're looking for.
I'd say the same thing, but we'll take another question here real quick. Is the plans what came to my mind first and foremost? You have that laid out there, and there's going to be a lot of roadblocks in that plan. But get creative with it. The thing is get that plan, know it, and go buy it. The key thing is, I think, with the entrepreneur, once it's in your blood type of thing, and you start, you want to be your own. A lot of it's passion, because you're going to hit these roadblocks. And when you hit those roadblocks, that passion can drive you through it. But I tell you that not having a plan and that passion, where I see a lot of entrepreneurs fail because they do have more passion than planning. Just run, and boom, fail. Did you have a question?
Before you started your own business, did you work at another place before? If you were interested in becoming an entrepreneur, how much experience do you think you need, like working for either another large company and gaining that information? Do you think that's very important?
I think it depends on the type of field that you're going into. With myself, I hate to say it, I'm a non-brother-in or whatnot, but and I don't have too much college whatsoever. Because at a young age I started that and whatnot, and a few, I hate to say it, but classes in Miranda, that's all that I have. But I look at a lot of people around me that do have college degrees, and I guarantee I'm doing, it's not about the success, more so I have a better, for me, family life at home and whatnot. So it comes down to you within and what you want to do. I think experience for me is number one key. If you get out there and do what you want to do and love it, that's going to supersede anything. So I don't know what type of, and there's certain fields that you have to almost do things in, so it just really depends.
I mean, if you don't know how to build a wall or do a roof, it's going to be hard to start a roofing company. If you don't know how to build a website and you don't know about brand marketing and you haven't learned all those tools, how are you going to charge $125 an hour to teach somebody else how to do it? You can't. You have to have, in whatever field that you're going into. How can you own your own accounting firm if you don't have that background? I mean, well, yeah, I have an accounting degree. I've never used anything. I've never done anybody's books, but hey, give me a shot. you really almost have to have that, at least in some fields, some experience before you jump into it, and you can learn on somebody else's time. But I have to agree, go ahead and get your URL and start your, I agree, start it now, even though you may not be doing anything with it, except maybe if you're an accountant, you're doing your family's taxes. Okay, that's good experience. Keep going.
And not only the URL, but even with the Better Business Bureau type of thing, that if you sign up now and you start your business for 2-3 years, you're accredited business for 3 years, since 3 years with no problems. So you're walking into a heck of some good credibility there.
I mean, it costs $45 to register your company in the state of Missouri. $45 to be an S corporation. No problem. That's what I did. And regardless of how much you're billing or what you're doing, that's already in place. Your company's been in business since then. I think that's a really good idea.
Good.
Yes.
So you guys are talking about startups a lot, but I'm just curious if any of you have any experience or advice for maybe a third-generation family business transitioning. You might have more.
I have a lot of it.
Yeah?
I have a whole lot of that. I think that the first question is, are the people still involved? The older generations are still involved?
Yes.
Okay. So what you have to realize is it's still their company. I don't care what they say to you, it's their company. And you have to learn, whether that's the mailroom coming up, you've got to be the grunt for that family business until such time as they've earned enough confidence and trust to you that they say, dude, we want to go to Boca Raton for the next 3 months, can you run the company? And they do that little trial period. My only suggestion on that is don't try to change what they've done too much, but find a little project or two that can really make a difference. For example, if it's a retail business, maybe you show them social media and say, oh, look what I can do. I brought you more business. Here's direct revenue I brought in with my idea. There you go. Woo, that was pretty good. Our little girl's growing up. It works because you start learning pieces, and then they start giving you a little bit more, until at some point they're going to say, you know what, I think she could probably do a better job than we can. Let's turn it over.
And be a fly on the wall. Listen, learn. Don't put too much input in just yet until you've been around it a lot, because the more you're around it and live and learn type of thing, once again, coming back to experience for me, you can learn that stuff, you can throw it in there. So now when so-and-so's talking to so-and-so, you know what they're talking about without putting your 2 cents in just yet. But with family, there's always...
It's a lot of dynamics.
So to try and put yourself outside of the family and even the person that you are in the family, but kind of take yourself out of it if you can and just listen and soak it all in.
The only other suggestion I have on that is get over to their biggest competitor and learn from theirs, and then come back.
Yeah, and don't discount the fact that, I don't know if you can have the opportunity. Lou Ball, he's got Ball's barbecue sauce, but guess what? His father wasn't one of the work at the place. He's like, you go find a real job first, and you go over here and work that. So you don't discount the opportunity that you maybe have to get some real life experience and provide better value for you and your own family business, which you may have to do a little bit of that too.
And then she made a good point about is find a mentor. It's a lot cheaper and easier to learn from other people's mistakes. We've all made them up here. And one thing you learn about the entrepreneurship personality type is we love talking about what we've done and we love helping out. So if you need bounce off ideas, just need guidance, you have all our contact information. We love helping out because there's nothing more satisfying to us than seeing other people be successful too. So utilize everybody here and come ask us questions if you need.
Wednesday from 1:30.
All right.